So Gideon has already have little faith in what he is going to do for God. So first we're going to see how Gideon found his faith. The Lord goes to him, and later on he tells him what he wants him to do. And he goes, and Gideon makes an offering unto the Lord. And after he made the Lord dipped his staff onto his offering and set it afire. And the Lord said unto him, Peace be unto thee, fear not, thou shalt not die. Then Gideon built an altar there unto the Lord, and called it Jehovah Shalom, unto this day, in the Ophrah of the Abiezrites. Gideon found his peace in God's power. He knew that he had not the power to do this by himself, but that with God he would be able to do this. And Gideon now accepted and have found his part in God's plan. He knew what he was supposed to do, and he threw down the altar of Baal that night. But he still wasn't fully ready because he did it at night, scared of what everyone else would see. That didn't matter. They found out. They found out that it was him, and God had to deliver him out of it. Gideon still had doubt in his heart. He was afraid of what he had to do, and he didn't know what to do. God had to fortify Gideon's faith. And this is going by quick. Oh my goodness. I didn't think it'd go by this fast. You see, I liked to play with Legos when I was a kid. What I didn't like so much were the instructions. I had this image in my mind, I'm going to make whatever's on the box. So I'd start building, and I'd think, this piece looks cool, I'm going to put it here. This piece looks cool, I'm going to put that there. And then I'd be done, and I'd look at it, and it wasn't what was on the box. And so I had to go back, and I had to disassemble this. And Gideon had to disassemble his doubt, because doubt is the opposite of faith. Where there's doubt, we can't have faith. He had to get rid of it so he could put in place the right stuff. I have this poem here. It says, Doubt sees the obstacles, faith sees the way. Doubt sees the darksome night, faith sees the day. Doubt dreads to take the step, faith soars on high. Doubt whispers, who believes? Faith answers, I. Gideon didn't have much hope in himself. He thought, I'm the youngest of my family, why am I the least able? And he wasn't the only one. David was the youngest of his family, and we see that God had did magnificent things with him. So, disassembling his doubt, he knew what he had to do. He knew exactly what God had planned for him, but he still didn't know if he was up to it. So, in verse 36, we pick up, Gideon said to God, If thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said, behold, I will put a fleece of wool on the floor, and if the dew be on the fleece only, and it be dry upon all the earth beside, then shall I know thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said. And it was so, for he rose up early on the morrow, and thrust the fleece down, and together, and he wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. God gave him exactly what he asked for. But for him, that wasn't enough. He seeked more. He didn't have the right faith in his heart, because after God gave him the perfect message, what he exactly asked for, he wasn't ready. And he knew that was wrong, because he asked then in 39, Let not thy anger be hot against me. He knew what he was saying shouldn't have been the way it was. And he didn't want to be angered. He didn't want God to be angered at him. But still, his doubt overcame that fear and his faith. He said, Let this prove, I pray thee, but this once with the fleece. Let it now be dry only upon the fleece, and upon the ground let there be dew. And so God delivered. He fully took apart Gideon's doubt and let him know that he was there with him and that his plan was going to go through. So then God just had one more thing for Gideon, and all Gideon had to do was listen and finish this. So now we see how Gideon followed through with his faith. Jerubbaal, who is Gideon, and all of the people that were with him, rose up early and pitched beside the well of Harod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them, by the hill of Moreh, in the valley. And that the Lord said unto Gideon, The people that are with thee are too many, for give to me the Midianites unto their hands, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, Mine own hand hath saved me. We are the same way. The reason we can't get into heaven by works is we will boast about it. So God is painting a picture. He needs us to depend on him. That is why he whittles our resources down. Same reason that they say rich people will not, are least likely to go with God. It's easier to get a camel through the eye of the needle is because they don't need anything from God. They have everything they could ever want. So God, he gets rid of our resources. And so he gives us with what we need, so we depend on him. And the Lord said unto Gideon, the people who are there are too many. Now go proclaim unto the ears, saying, whoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 20 and 2,000, and there remained 10,000. There were 32,000 people, and 22 of them left. God does not deal with people with fear. Same with doubt. If there is fear in your heart, faith will not be able to take place in it. We have to get rid of our fear. And of course we'll still have fear, but that fear will be overcome by courage. We have to get rid of our fear. And so if our lives are controlled by fear, it won't be controlled by God. The Lord said unto Gideon, the people are too many. Bring them down unto the water, and I will try them from thee there. And it shall be that of whom I say unto thee, this shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee. And whomever I say unto thee, this shall not go with thee, the same shall not go. God is painting Gideon a picture. He's telling him, if these people do this, they can't go. If these people do this, they will go. And Gideon is trusting in what he says. So we see the trial of Gideon's trust. Gideon has to listen to God, and even though his logic, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand why we would take this huge army against the Midianites, who were numberless. They're so numerous. Their camels were just as grains of sand. And they had so many people that even 32,000 people wouldn't have done much. They're taking it down and they're whittling that. But he trusted in what God said and did what he did. So he brought down the people into the water, and the Lord said unto Gideon, everyone that lappeth of the water with his tongue, as a dog lappeth, shall not be set by himself. Likewise, everyone that boweth down upon his knees to drink, and the number of them that lapped, putting their hand into their mouth, were 300 men. But all the rest of the people bowed down upon their knees to drink water. And the Lord said unto Gideon, by the 300 men that lappeth will I save you, and deliver the Midianites into thy hand, and let all the other people go, every man unto his place. We see that the people that dip down and bring their heads down to drink the water, they are not alert. They must always be alert. We must always be alert. And those that dip down with their hands are always vigilant of the task at hand and of the enemy. The devil is very clever and tricky. If we turn our heads down for anything, he will strike. So we have to always be ready. So the Lord took those 300 men, and he told Gideon his resources. He told him what he needed to get. The pitchers, and he sent the rest of the Israel men unto his tent, and retained those 300 men, and the host of Midian was beneath them in the valley. They set themselves up in the valley. And the same night that the Lord said unto him, arise, get thee down from the host, for I have delivered into thy hand. But if thou fear to go down, go with thy host Purah, thy servant, to the host. And thou shalt hear what they say, and afterward shall thine hands be strengthened to go down unto the host. Then he went down with Purah his servant, and unto the outside of the armed men that were in his host. He sensed that Gideon still had fear in his heart. Gideon was going to do it, but he wasn't going to do it all the way. So God gave him his bit of encouragement that he needed. So Gideon goes down, and the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the grass like grasshoppers for multitude. There were numerous amounts of them, and the camels as the sand by the seaside for multitude. And when Gideon has come before, there was a man that told the dream unto his fellow, and said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came into a tent, and smote it that it fell, and overturned it, and that the tent lay along. And his fellow answered and said, this is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. See how he says, a man of Israel. Even Gideon didn't see himself as that. But God has put his picture in place, and now everyone else, even when Gideon is thinking of him as the least of his family, God is putting this picture of a man of Israel. We are to be men and women of God, not cowards, not boys hiding in wine presses, but men. And his fellow answered and said, This is nothing else than the man of Israel. For into this hand hath God delivered Midian and all the host. God delivered Midian, not Gideon. Gideon was God's left hand. God was the one pulling the strings. It was so when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and the interpretation thereof, that he worshipped and returned unto the host of Israel, and said, Arise, for the Lord hath delivered into your hands the host of Midian. And he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put a trumpet in every man's hand with empty pitchers, and lamps within the pitchers. And he said unto them, Look on me, and do likewise. And behold, when I come to that outside of the camp, it shall be that, as I do, you shall do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all that are with me, then blow ye the trumpets also on every side of the camp, and say, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. So Gideon and the 300 men that were around, 100 with him, came unto the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch. And they had but newly set the watch, and they blew the trumpets, and they broke the pitchers that were in their hands. The pitchers are symbolic of our earthly vessels, of us. We are pitchers, and we will win if we let our earthly selves break down, because it's not what our outside is, it's what's on the inside, and that is the light of Jesus Lord. They blew the trumpets, and they broke their pitchers, and they held their lamps in the left hands, and they cried, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And they stood, every man in his place, round about the camp, and all the hosts ran, they cried, and they fled. Now we see how Gideon followed through with his faith. He finished the job, and he triumphed in his trump. He listened to what the Lord said, and he wasn't done with just scaring them off. It says that they gathered themselves out of Naphtali, and out of Asher, and out of the Manasseh, and pursued them unto the Midianites. They pursued them. They had enough courage in their hearts not only to attack them, but whenever they were victorious, they pursued them with their pitchers, their trumpets. They were ready to finish what God had said they were doing. And we need to be the same way. We need to be able to attack the enemy. We need to be able to finish the job. But we don't need to just do it blindly. We need to do it with faith. Without faith, is in Hebrews 11:6 it says, But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Matt, would you please come up? I'd like to add one last thing before we finish. We see that Gideon did great things with God, with faith. But before he could do anything, he had to fix his faith with God. He couldn't just start with the faith he had. We're the same way with our faith. No matter what God calls us to do, whether it be a missionary or just a good Christian, we need to have the right faith to do it. So we have to do it the right way. So it doesn't matter if we have faith in the wrong things, if our faith is not built upon solid rock, or if we just don't have faith at all. We need to fix our faith. And we can't just do that alone, because God's not going to fix our faith for us, and we can't fix it without him.